the recent alarming surge in hate crimes needs to be met with a strong and a clear response, and we will have zero tolerance and will punish these crimes to the fullest extent in Connecticut. When a bomb threat is made against a religious community center, or a religious cemetery is desecrated, or a mosque is vandalized, or women's and the LGBT communities are specifically targeted, that is a crime that affects not just members of the building or cemetery threatened or vandalized, but all members of the protected group throughout our society. And this proposal, altering some of the current elements of our hate crimes bill, our hate crimes legislation that's been in place for a number of years, the proposal this year will make Connecticut a national leader in the fight against these despicable acts and serve as a model for other states looking to combat hate crimes based on bigotry and bias with an appropriate legislative response.
What we've seen over the last few months, or even last year on the presidential campaign, and the policies that have been pushed down by the president himself and members of Congress, and the words that they have used in order to try and rally their base is something that is disheartening, and unfortunately at the same time gives a credence to those who believe that they not only can say certain things, but also, as Representative Tong said, they can act in a certain way as well. And that creates fear and hostility and in the state and across this country that is unnecessary. So what do we do as legislators? We have to strengthen our laws. We have to say that it will not be tolerated, and we have to make sure that we set the course for civility and respect amongst our residents in the state of Connecticut. And we will continue to do that through this legislation.
Our country, unfortunately, has a tragic experience with hate. Legislation like this is important here in the state, and why it's incumbent upon all of us. Senator Doyle mentioned Senator Kissel, the House and the Senate and the governor. I hope that we can all come together to strengthen these laws and to make sure that these crimes don't happen here in Connecticut.
And this proposal would increase the penalty, making it into a felony for committing a hate crime against a group. As you heard as well, in addition to the bill, it would also create and publicize a hate crime hotline and text line to report incidents of harassment or intimidation in our state. Now more than ever, we need our elected officials to stand up to distinctly denounce these types of crimes and to actively work to prevent them. So we thank you for the hard work that you are doing.
I think the most important thing that we can do, though, is as we look around and ask everyone in this room and anyone who is within range of this broadcast, all of the citizens of the state of Connecticut, every single one of us in our present, in our past, or in our history identifies with some piece here. There is some part of us that has all seen this sort of hate and understands it. So the way that we fight that is by standing here together to be united and to recognize that we are strong and we stand as one, and that we stand with one voice to say, hate has no home in Connecticut.
Hate and bias-motivated crimes don't just target and hurt the individual victim. They're an attack on all of us and on our civil society. Over 30 years ago, ADL drafted the first model hate crime statute, and now 45 states and the District of Columbia have hate crimes laws in place. We also worked together at the federal level to pass federal legislation to cover those states that don't have their own state law. We here in Connecticut should all be proud that we've been a leader in protecting vulnerable groups, and today's announcement, making an already good law even stronger, is another key moment in our state taking a stand for what is right.
In the current climate nationally, it's totally unacceptable. Connecticut has not been immune to these threats, so I just think it's very important to address it. You know, the causes, people can speculate, people have theories of why the country is currently in this horrific climate. I don't really want to go there at the press conference. I just want to focus as a tri-chairman of the Judiciary Committee that we have to address it, send a message out in Connecticut that any such hate crimes are unacceptable and they will be strongly enforced.
Because what we're trying to do is say in Connecticut, these behaviors are unacceptable, that we are a community, Democrats, Republicans, gay, straight, many religions, that we are one community. We are connected. And this legislation says we will not be divided, and we're not just going to stick with what we have and defend those. We're taking this further and saying, in Connecticut, these crimes hurt our state in such a way that we're going to stand up to them, and that we are going to make our state more connected, and that we're going to stand up for each other.
In recent days, we've witnessed a glorification of hatred against people because of where they were born, how they worship, how their bodies and minds work, and who they love. But our country and our state will be weaker if we let hate triumph. We grow stronger only when compassion and respect guide us. So I'm pleased to stand here today in support of this legislation.
It's more important than ever that those of us who have the privilege of serving as lawmakers stand up and make it clear to all the residents of the state of Connecticut that hate is not acceptable in our state, and that we're going to do everything we can to ensure that the residents of Connecticut are protected, and that we're going to have the strongest laws in the country. The stories you've heard today of the increase of hate crimes, these incidents that have rocked people in our communities to the core, and the statistics that you've heard of the alarming increase of hate crimes is a tremendous concern, and this has to be a top priority for this General Assembly this year.
It's good that we have legislation now that makes it a crime, makes it, not just a misdemeanor, but making it a felony, taking it up a step higher as a deterrent to those who would do that. See, and a lot of this is coming from, I hate to say, from our president with his language. I'm very happy that the state of Connecticut, the leadership here in this state, is taking some strong steps to counter that by putting forth this kind of legislation. And I'm just very happy and pleased as a member of the African American community to hear and see this kind of legislation and to hear what I'm hearing.
It's important for us as a state and as adults in the state of Connecticut to become mandated reporters and say no to these hate crimes.
It's important that all people in Connecticut who worship feel safe and secure in their places of worship. We are a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society, and attack against one institution is really an attack against all of us. Strengthening our hate crimes laws, I believe, will deter people who undertake these crimes to think twice, perhaps, about doing the things that they're doing before they do them. And I look forward to working with our legislators here in Connecticut